I have been interpreting for over 20 years. So, yes, I have done my reps. I have been in the room. I've handled the pressure. I built the reps in. But here's what really surprised me about being in this space for this long. My skills did not really expand until I stopped trying to prove that I belonged. You see, for years, I thought that getting better was about speed, was about accuracy, was about sharpness, was about preparedness. I thought, okay, this thing, like I have to just like rock in, know this stuff. Like once I'm there, then I am like I've got this lockdown, locked in, right? And what I was improving technically, but internally, I was still very tight. I was still scanning. I was still bracing myself for the exposure. And when you are bracing, you can't flow. Like it just doesn't work. It wasn't more practical things that actually changed my level. It was safety. Safety. So you can accumulate experience for years and years and years and still operate from insecurity, even with all that years on one. But in my body, I was still protecting. Even though I've been doing this thing for years. How many years? Oh, yeah, but still, I was still not like free. So when your nervous system doesn't feel safe, when that's the case, is what it's doing is prioritizing protection over performance. And what for me I didn't understand back then when I was starting out and I was doing this thing and trying to improve, I thought when I had speed meant that I was competent, that I've got this locked down. I thought sharpness meant safety, and I thought that if I could emulate any mistake, then I wouldn't have to be exposed, right? But really, all of that, all that things, all it was doing for me was just making me more tight, more on edge, and that tightness in my processing, tightness in my voiceover, in my voice, tightness in my present, and tight people, they don't flow. It does not work. You would like you thinking that okay, I have to be this like I just thinking like as if I'm not human. That I would just rock up and I would just get it. And actually, what changed wasn't my workload. It wasn't even the industry that changed when I had this realization. Nothing external changed, but in my body did. I didn't upgrade my skill set at the time. I stabilized my identity. And and doing that for me, it just shifted everything because I stopped making hesitation mean I was in threat. I stopped spiraling over small corrections or things. I stopped allowing pauses to mean panic. Fill it up, say something. My processing became clearer. With that, my recovery became faster. My present became steadier. And mastery just compounded over time. So when you stop performing competence, you start to embody it. And it's not just about interpreting, it goes across all boards in whatever one is doing. So if you're a professional who is just over preparing, but still doubting their self, their ability, that they know their stuff, if that's the case, if that's you, and if you're a leader who knows the answer of what it is, but you're still bracing before you even speak or like before you do anything, if that's your situation, you're a coach, You are capable, but your body, you're scanning for the room for approval to check. So it's not always about that skill gap. That's that is not always the problem. Sometimes it is an internal safety gap. There is something inside us because repetition builds the skill. Regulation builds capability. Identity builds authority. Let me say that again for the people in the back. Grab a paper and pen to write this down because once we can truly understand and embody this, next level, repetition builds skill. Regulation builds capacity, and identity builds authority. So, survival slows our mastery, slows how fast we get to the thing we want to make happen. We get, you know, how we like, say maybe you're doing a training with people, right? And you're, you see someone and be like, how the hell, excuse the language. So I was speaking to a client the other day, right? And she shared how she's in a class with some other people. And you can see how this person, like, how they were like performing and doing the practicing and things like that. Now they're fully qualified and they're still trying to get to that final stage. And through coaching and stuff like that, basically, we all think it's about, okay, well, as long as with years you get that experience and stuff. So people have years on them and still walk into the room feeling like duck underwater. They're nervous, they're bracing, they're like like checking. Am I gonna be found out? Would they know that? Would they think I'm an imposter? Still going on. And they've been doing this for years on them. So this person who felt like incompetent doing their work and doing whatever is now qualified. And the person who actually has ability in them are still struggling. It's not about the skill. Skill secondary. How do you see yourself in that role? How how's your image? Do you think you're on par that someone like you can do that? What's the limiting beliefs you have about yourself in that situation? How certain are you about what you're doing? All those things play a role. So if you're coming from that place of survival, having that gap, it's going to slow your mastery. It's going to slow how far you go. It would slow it down. But when you come from safety, when you come from that knowing and align to who you are and who you are becoming and how things are and the connection to self, and you feel safe in your body, your nervous system is like chill, that accelerates it. Like you're going there further, faster. And that skill is just going to be on steroids. Like, come on now, let's go, let's go, let's go. That's it. And when we finally feel safe in who we are, feel safe in the aligned to the identity of who we're becoming. You know, we talked about how sometimes we go so much to the, people think, oh yeah, oh, the sky's the limit, da da da. But if you go so high to the identity you believe in, if you think you can't, or if you think you can, it's your truth. So whatever you believe in, that's what's going to be your truth, your story, your thing. So in all those years of thinking, oh gosh, when people say, yeah, I have this on me, this many years, da, 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 da. And if you don't feel it, if you're not anchored in self, those numbers mean nothing. it means nothing. Another situation with another client. She, before transitioning into what she was doing now, she was in the IT industry, and like she had like she knew the stuff and all this like going on. And then she's just kind of like come off the interpreting level. She's fully qualified now, and going on to do the thing. And then there was like a conference, and the conference was all about the industry she was in. And she knew the jargon, she knew the whole like what to expect, and like she's done her prep and everything. And then yeah, so she applied to like, yeah, I can interpret this conference. And then her team members, co-workers that she was going to work with to deliver this job had years on her. They had like 10, 15 years or something like that. And yes, she's newly qualified. I think she was a year in or whatever. And then a check. And so, conversations somehow always land to, okay, what level are you? Kind of everyone trying to check, everyone size each other out and things like that. And had that realization that she's new. And like, oh, you needed to get a few years in before you now come and start doing this kind of job. And yes, there's two sides to that. There might be some element of truth in that. Or yes, the conference. She's worked in that field. She knows the lingo. She's interpreted the other stuff. And now we're just doing like a conference thing. Babe's got it. But when you hear someone else tell you something like that, what are you going to do if you don't have that anchored belief in self? You shrink. And she shrunk. And she allowed the information she's hearing to affect her presence in what she can deliver, even though she knows her stuff. And she even has an in-depth understanding on how to explain this even better than the other colleagues ever did. And she did show that in that space. And if it was a case of like she had a strong identity of self, she knew like, I already know this stuff, I've been here, I've done this, and anchored in how she saw herself, her beliefs and everything, she would have showed up there and like crushed the whole thing. She did, until she had, and like having that like anchored and to like switch things up and like remind yourself, I know why I took this thing. I knew I was capable. I knew whatever that is, realign and show up. So yeah, having reps in building the skill is gold, and we eventually do that. I was even watching a another colleague who was sharing on social media, and how it was like, and I've seen a couple of people do this, like the very first job doing their thing and how they are now, and the vast different, and then who, and then like talking to like, you can see the growth. You always, there's always going to be there. As long as you're moving, there's going to be growth. The question now is, how fast are we going to get there? How aligned are we going to get to the place we want to get to? Are we going to go there bracing and proving ourselves our way through? Are we going to go there anchored and poised and aligned to who we are being along the way to get the reps in? What would we rather? So if we've ever felt the technical capability but internally tense, let's have that conversation in the comment section. Let me know in the comment section. And because what we're doing here, what we're building something meaningful. We're building a real we're building this while holding real responsibility in real time. So yeah, subscribe if that's your thing, if that's what you're anchored and looking for, because it's not just about improving skills here. That's not what we're doing here. We are evolving identity in real time. All right? Because I'll say this one more time: repetition builds the skill, regulation builds capability, identity builds the authority. And we are building that real time down this lane over on YouTube. I'm Nene, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye for now.